So today we have Rebecca Clary. She is in Arkansas and she's got quite an amazing story, and her journey has just been phenomenal so far. So I'm excited to have you share with us today just some insight into your journey. So, to start off, what was the absolute biggest challenge for you prior to joining Whole Story Health?
I think the biggest challenge was for me was just not getting answers, not getting results. I felt like, my weight, my health, dealing with, all the different issues of, my hormones, not getting answers and not feeling like I was getting anywhere. There's so much information out there on the internet that says, do this, don't do that. They all contradict each other. And it's so difficult to know, like, even if you try to do your own research, it's so difficult to know, like, okay, what path should I be taking?
Yeah, that's so true. I hear that all the time. Women are like, I have no idea what to do. And it's really easy. And I've even found myself doing this. It's really easy to start something. And then, 2 weeks goes by and you've been fully dedicated and you don't see any results. And so it's like on to the next, on to the next. And
Exactly.
yeah, so that's a great point. So how did the challenge of the overwhelm of information and the feeling like you weren't being heard, from physicians in treating hormone imbalance and not getting results, how did that make you feel prior
Just
to starting?
just defeated. I mean, my weight has fluctuated so much over the last few years, but even though it fluctuates, like it consistently goes up. Everything that I try, maybe I lose like 10 pounds here, but then I gain 15 back. And it just makes you feel defeated, like you don't get answers from doctors or, especially like in my case with PCOS. And I know this, I've heard the same story from multiple women, and I know like you have too. The doctor just tells you, eat less, exercise more, do more cardio, join CrossFit, just, go all out. And when you're doing that, you can do it for, a couple weeks, maybe even months, but it just doesn't feel sustainable and you feel defeated. And like you said, especially once, a few weeks go by and you're no longer getting results, it's just so easy to give up. And I think it was just feeling like I had no control over my body. You don't feel like yourself like that. I think that was the biggest thing is I just didn't feel like me anymore. And my husband had noticed it too. He's like, you just, you're not energetic, you're not happy, like you want to sleep all the time. Like I just wasn't me. I wasn't doing the things that I enjoyed.
Yeah, that's something that I hear all the time. It's like we reach a certain point where we just feel stuck in this body that's not ours. And we slowly begin to lose who we are because we just don't have the physiological wiring to do what we want to do. Everything just gets like stopped, halted,
Mhm.
and then the answer is eat less, exercise more, and that works really well for a men's cycle. They have a hormonal cycle too. It's just every 24 hours. But we go through weeks of being, low in testosterone, high in estrogen, where that's not going to work at all. So we're on a 28 to 32 day cycle, and that's if you have a normal period. But most of
Yeah.
us with PCOS, sometimes we have one period a year, and so it looks totally different. So what was that big change for you once you started your plan with Whole Story Health?
I think so the biggest change for me was just having a clear path. So, whenever I'd been following a couple of PCOS things, well, that was the number one thing. I went for the longest time not knowing what was wrong with me. I'd been to one doctor for almost 2 years and they'd done blood work. I'd asked them to like check my thyroid, check this, check that. And like everything came back like, no, you just need to lose weight. It wasn't until we got really serious about, wanting to have a baby and it wasn't happening and I wasn't having a period that my OBGYN at the time was finally like, oh, you have PCOS. So I guess finding out that I had PCOS was like step number one. I'm like, okay, like that sucks, but at least I know what it is now.
Yes.
Um, and I started following groups, and I guess that was, that's how I'd found you, is I found one of your posts in the group, and I started watching and seeing like things that you post. And of course, there's always a little bit of skepticism there because it's like, okay, is this another like
Mhm.
just a scheme to like lose 10 pounds in a week and like, you're done. But just after that first time that I talked to you, I knew that there was more to it than that. I knew that like your plan was going to be something that would actually work. Um, and that was the best thing for me, just having a clear direction, something that was simple and easy to follow. Um, that was the best thing. It wasn't like a bunch of, try this or maybe try this. It wasn't like a 20-step process. It was so simple and easy to follow. And that was all I needed, just a clear direction of this is what works and this is what helps. And talking to you, science, chemistry is my background, so you could say that I guess I'm a little bit like science driven in like the decisions that I make. And so talking to you, and like you had the science to back it up, and you understand like why our bodies do what they do, and that fascinates me, and that really helped make the process so much easier.
Yeah, thank you for that. And it does. That's made all the difference in my journey is well, I will actually adhere to something when I understand why. And before, I think I just wanted, like, just tell me what to do and I'll do it. And
Mhm.
that, calorie counting kind of worked in my 20s, but it has not worked in my 30s and nearing 40. And
Absolutely.
so now I've got to understand, okay, well, this is just my body saying this to me. So learning that helps you navigate and make better decisions overall. So that's a really great point. Um, what are the specific results that you have gotten and goals that you've accomplished so far? What are the ones that you are, really excited about?
Oh man, I feel like I have so many. So obviously the energy. So I feel like I have more energy, like I feel like I'm able to do more, and again, it's I guess your family notices it probably even before you do.
Mhm.
But even my husband has made comments like, you have so much more energy, like you're constantly doing stuff. Like he can see that I'm starting to feel better. So that part's great. Obviously the weight loss, I've lost, 25 pounds. I want to lose more, but the thing is I feel like I've lost more than 25 pounds. In those quick weight loss schemes or whatever that I've tried before, like I've easily lost 20 pounds, but I didn't look like I lost 20 pounds. I didn't feel like I lost 20 pounds. And with this, like I see myself in pictures now and I look like I've lost so much more and I feel better, that my clothes fit better. For the first time in years, I ordered some clothes and some swimsuits off of Amazon for our Mexico trip that we took a few weeks ago, and everything I bought fit. I loved everything that I bought, and that never worked. That never happens. Like I always send everything back, or I hate the way I look in it. And then I guess like the last biggest thing is I've had 2 periods back to back without the help of medication, and they were right on time, and they were healthy cycles. Like it was just so much better than what it had been before. I went 2 years without having a period on my own. Like I had to have the help of some type of medication every few months, and they were painful. I would hurt. I was tired and cramping. Um, and so I finally had 2 periods back to back that weren't like that. And that was when I could tell that it was a huge stepping stone.
Yes, that is huge. I mean, everything you mentioned is amazing, but it's it's such a shift when you go from being, in high school and in your 20s and you're like, oh, whatever about my period. Like, oh, a doctor will give me medicine to stop it, give it to me.
Yes,
And then we start to realize, wait a minute, that's not the way our body's supposed to run at all. And then we have other priorities, and it's the most exhilarating thing to get a normal scheduled period. And for it not to just throw you out of life for a week. I mean, we'll still have
absolutely.
some symptoms, but it's not
Mhm.
near as bad as it was. I know it is. It's so much fun to get your text that, guess what, it's like right on time, it's here. I
Something
love
I
that.
never thought I'd be so excited about. But yeah,
I
especially like
know.
you said in my 20s, like, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. And I think if we had a message we could give to younger women, it's or to the physicians treating them is fully explain what this medicine is doing to their body before you just hand it to them, because that's the first
Yes.
thing they go to when a teenager comes in with any sort of irregularity with their cycle. It's, well, here's this will make it regular, but it doesn't, stops it.
Mhm. No, absolutely, and that's the thing is I of course, now, like, I wonder I don't know if my PCOS is caused by birth control or if I had it before, but that was exactly my case. I was 17, 18, went to the doctor, "Oh, you're irregular, here you go." I had no idea, like, that birth control stopped your ovulation process completely, never knew that, but I feel like that's the type of things that they should tell you when they
Mhm.
give you this medication or give you other options, and
Yeah.
it's just I don't know, maybe I wouldn't have listened at 18 or I wouldn't have cared, but knowing now, I wish I would have known then.
Yeah, yeah, and same. I don't know if my teenage self would have cared at all, but at least the education process I think needs to be given. Here's what this is going to do. Um, Honestly, because most physicians, and not knocking them, there are some wonderful physicians, but because they're trained in medicine, I'm often curious if they have fully studied and investigated what the long-term effects of stopping the ovulation process is, as much as a lot of the naturopaths and osteopaths out there that are actually looking at the body as a whole. So, but I think that there is a conversation to be had between the two fields so that we can better educate. Because I'm like you, I do wonder, we have such a high rate of PCOS, and we know that some of that stems from interruption from natural light sources and just our whole cycle getting off. But when you have women who have not had ovulation processes happen for 10 years, it's bound to have some huge effects. So,
Absolutely.
yeah. Um, what would you say to somebody who is on the fence about starting a program that is natural to regulate periods, lose weight, and treat PCOS?
Just do it. Just go all in. I mean, it was the best decision I ever made. It was so funny because after the initial, like the very first conversation that I had with you, I actually called up my youngest sister. And she has a personal trainer that she found online. Um, I forget how she found her. I don't know if it was Instagram, whatever, but she has a personal trainer. And I called her and I asked her, and I was like, "Hey, how did you decide like who to go with? How did you make the decision to just go all in for this?" And we had a conversation about it. And just the more that I talked to her, I was like, I really need this for my health. And I think that was one of the biggest things is, I was, I'm, I'm trying to think, I don't, to be honest, I think I was already 30, like whenever we started this, but that was, my mindset was, okay, I'm turning 30. I need to get a handle on my health now rather than later, invest in it now rather than, it being worse down the road. And so, I mean, what do you have to lose? It was just the best thing for me, best decision that I ever made. So I guess my advice to anybody that's kind of on the fence about it, just do it. You won't regret it. And your health is so important. Like, don't put it off.
Yes, yes, absolutely. It is so heartbreaking to have women come to me in their late 40s, early 50s, and they have lost so much of their life because, we are just a quick fix. Here's a pill to fix it society. And it takes work. It takes work to be healthy, but it takes work to be sick too. And
Yeah.
you're right. That small investment in time and work and money on the front end can change the entire trajectory of your family and your life. So
Mhm.
that's great.
Absolutely.
Um, do you have anything else that you want to add just about your journey in general?
Yeah. So for me, it's just the small things. Like one of the biggest things that I think's really helped me that I never even would have thought about is getting sunlight first thing in the morning. Um, even if it's just 10 minutes here and there. So like I get 10 minutes in the morning on my lunch break, I'll go stand outside, for 10 minutes or whatever. As soon as I get home, just go sit outside for 10 minutes. Like I think that has made the biggest impact, and I know it seems like something so small, but I truly did not realize how little sunlight I get throughout the day, and, like you said, it's everybody, most people work inside, that, their jobs are inside, so they don't step foot, outside. You get in your car, you go to work, you go home, um, so I think that was one of the biggest things, but I've also just learned a lot about myself and my body. Like, now I feel like I know now, like, when I need a break, like, okay, it's okay, if you take the downtime today, it's okay, don't be hard on yourself. Um, I've been really frustrated that over this last month, like, I feel like my weight loss is stalled, but then I have to remind myself how far I've come. So, like, even if I have a bad day, the choices that I make are still 10 times healthier and 10 times better than what they used to be. So, I think part of it is just learning to also be easy with yourself and know that, like, there are gonna be bad days, but I'm still going in the right direction. It's still getting better.
Yeah, 1,000,000%. If you look at losing 25 pounds in 12 weeks, I mean, that's pretty incredible. And you said something early on in the interview, it's different, like, it's sustainable, like, that is gone, and, you can see it in your face, in your whole body. That weight is gone, and now, like, even though you're in this plateau with, we've had a vacation, and your body is just constantly readjusting,
Mhm.
and so, like, it needs this time to kind of catch up, and
Yeah.
your mentality now is like there, instead of just throwing your hands up and going back to, whatever processed foods that you so enjoyed before, which would be so easy to do. You're like, no, 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 this is still 1,000,000 times better than before.
Absolutely. And that's a really good point. So I guess if I think it back to, like, before this journey, so, like, if I'd gotten to the point where, like, I plateaued and I got frustrated, like, I would have, over this last month, like, I would have already gained that 20 pounds back. And so the fact that I'm maintaining it, like, that's a huge step. So at least I'm maintaining and not gaining, like, I'm not going back to old habits. I mean, that's 100% so much better, than what it used to be. So, I'm still making the healthier choices. And like you said, it's at least it's not reverting back to old ways. And, like, the processed foods, like, I can't say that never. I mean, sometimes it's there, but 90% of the time, like, I don't even crave the bad foods. I don't want them. So, like, my husband's like, hey, let's go get ice cream. I'm like, I'm actually not in the mood for it. So, like, go get it if you want it, but I'm going to save it until I'm, like, really craving it or something. But the cravings just aren't there like they used to be.
That is amazing. Yeah, that's one of the things that I think is so different about approaching this from how are we going to get healthy. I see a lot of programs that advertise you can still eat whatever you want and lose weight.
Mhm.
And to me, that in my past has resulted in short term weight loss
Mhm.
because I'm still feeding those cravings, but just giving myself less of it at a time until I get frustrated. And then I'm going all in
Yeah,
binge.
exactly.
But
Yes.
you've reversed your gut flora, so that microbiome, um, bacteria, now you have more good bacteria than bad, and the good bacteria craves or it feeds off of healthy foods, the bad bacteria feeds off of unhealthy foods. And so when there's a lot more of these guys, they dictate all the messages to your brain to tell you what to eat. And so now your cravings are more geared towards what serves your body well. So we've shifted your entire biology to promote better choice making. And
Mhm.
you've awakened that part of your brain, that frontal cortex that makes decisions so that you can think this through. Do I really even want this right now? Which is
Exactly. And then you know how it's gonna affect your body later,
mhm.
how it's
Yeah,
gonna make
because
you feel.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of a blessing and a curse, but a cheat meal now, I mean, we're going to have them every now and then, but we'll pay because
No,
our
yeah,
body is so sensitized to foreign invaders, to things that shouldn't be in it. So it's like, okay, do I want to feel essentially hungover all day tomorrow to have this? Sometimes the answer
exactly.
is yes, but more often than not, like we're like, it's not even worth it anymore.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and I guess you don't realize, like, when it's just your normal eating habits, you don't realize how bad you feel until you feel good, like, I didn't realize how bad I actually felt all the time until I knew what it felt like to feel good, if that makes sense.
A million percent. And I hear that so often too. Like, whoa, I really walked around feeling like crap all the time. And I had no idea.
Like, how was I
Um,
functioning?
yeah, yeah. And what's crazy is most people are surviving, but they're not thriving when they come to me. And their body is set to a point where they are literally given just enough energy to function to survive, but that's it. And it's holding
Mhm.
everything back because your body gets to a place where it's expecting a traumatic event to happen at any point. So it's constantly
Absolutely.
reserving energy. And so when people come, they have no energy to get through their day. They just kind of like mechanically get through it, and they
Mhm.
move from that to like, what else can we do when we get home from work? it's a
Yeah.
it's a different life.
And I think that's exactly how I was before. I was just making it through my day at work. Like you said, I was just surviving. But since starting this, like, it's so much easier for me to get projects done at work. Like, I don't feel stressed about work. Like, we knock stuff out so quickly. It's a complete 180. It's been so much better for work and for home.
That's amazing. Yeah. So that's something that I kind of want to focus on in the future. I mean, we look at, of course, all the health benefits, but there is a direct correlation to achieving a better health status and increase in income. And
Mhm.
it's for those reasons that you just said. You're likely to get raises, or if you're commission based, the task that felt so arduous before, now like you're just knocking it out, and
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, and I feel like my interactions at work are better. So, like, my relationships are better, I think, because, like, not that I'm ever like a I wouldn't say that I'm ever a negative person, but, like, before, like, I just didn't feel great, so I was just making it through the day. But now I feel like I have more energy, so I have more conversations with people. When I have to get up and give presentations, I look better, I feel better. So I'm sure in my presentations that energy feeds over
Mhm.
and it makes my presentations better. Like, I feel, my thought process is better. I don't have the brain fog, so I can speak through my presentations easier. I can make the points and I don't forget as much stuff. So I can definitely see where, like, promotions and, pay increases, things like that would all come along with this because it feeds over
Mhm.
into, your perception of yourself to other people.
Mhm. Yeah, that's amazing. I love hearing that. Um, it's a correlation that we don't draw very often, especially working in women's health, because we're so focused on ovulation, and those are all important things. But to take a step back and notice, like, yeah, I mean, I'm killing it at work now. Like, that's awesome. and
Absolutely.
and I loved one day, you mentioned that your husband was like, "Oh my gosh, you're like doing all this stuff at home after work. Like, who are you?" So I love that. I love that. Well, Rebecca, we're so excited to watch your journey continue, and watch your family grow from all of your hard work. That's something that I pray for quite often, and I know that you're praying for that, and you've put in the work, and set yourself up for the best scenario. So it's just such an honor to work with you. And I can't wait to look up, 6 months down the road and do another interview with you and see where you are then.
Thank you. Thank you, Allison. I am so excited. I'm so grateful that we found each other. Like, you were such a huge blessing, and I know Brad probably gets tired of hearing me talk about what Allison said or my health coach said or here's what we talked about today. So, but
That's
I have
okay.
I have enjoyed every step of the way. I love learning new things, and so I appreciate, like, all the stuff you've helped me learn and all the insight that you've given me on this journey.
Yeah, and it takes somebody like you who's ready to learn, and just at that point in your life where you're ready for a change, and you have taken it on full force. Like there's no looking back. We have a conversation and you've done it, made a PowerPoint presentation, and you're ready to teach somebody else to do it. Like I love that. I absolutely love that. So all right. Well, y'all stay tuned because we're going to be keeping up with Rebecca in her journey. And so we will be having additional interviews coming out soon.